All right, let's get down to business today. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies in the whole entire world. I did a video on its sequel, and today I would like to introduce my audience to all-time favorite cult classic, really well written, really well done, The Craft. The Craft is a masterpiece. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There are problems that I will talk about. We will go through them. I'm not going to just sit here and be like, this is delicious, and not tell you about the problems. For those who have seen The Craft before, within this spoiler-filled breakdown of The Craft, I will be proving that Nancy is not the villain of the story. I believe this is the realist depiction of Wicca and magic in general within a film, aside from a few obvious Hollywood tropes and the Abrahamic religionizing of the Wiccan craft. And I will explain what I mean when I get to that part. So let's begin, shall we? The movie surrounds Anglo-Saxon Sarah, who has issues at home. Her dad is widowed, and something about two specific scenes makes me think that the father has abused her in some way, maybe sexually. But honestly, it could be an allegory for sexual assault, but I'm not sure. But I'll explain that when it happens, okay? So the movie opens up with three witches summoning their fourth witch to complete their element sacrament, their circle. The four elements basically are represented by each direction. So I'm fire, which is south, north is earth, east is air, and west is water. Very easy to remember. So the leader of the group, Nancy, is represented with air in the direction of east. I believe she's misunderstood. She's my favorite character, honestly, the way she's written. But I'll explain why Rochelle, the only black character of the cast, isn't necessarily my favorite character. She could have been, but she's not, sadly. Rochelle is represented by water, the direction of west. Her name is pretty odd. The actress's name is, I think, Rachel. So I don't understand why they just had to change it to Rochelle. That just sounds really strange. Her story basically just boils down to only about the racism she faced. Before I get any smart aleck, wisecracks, losers, scrubs, bums in my comments, talking about, like, first of all, you need to shut up. You need to catch some air in your lungs real quick. Calm down. I have said this before, and I know I said this in my Gilded Age video that doesn't have that many views, so go watch that. It was a pretty decent video, but there's a difference between sci-fi, fiction with supernatural elements, nonfiction, historical realism, and anything else. So The Craft is not necessarily sci-fi. It has elements of the real world with magic in it. It takes place in our world, in our time. Magic is the oddity. It's not something everybody does. So I don't expect racism in the way we have racism in the real world in freaking, gosh darn, The Lord of the Rings, because magic is everywhere. It's a well-known thing. The Craft, it's a very linear base. So I'm fine with racism being in here. I just don't want it to be the only thing that the black girl has to deal with. Because like I said in my Gilded Age video, there's a difference between making a sci-fi show, movie, anything, and historical realism, and anything in between. So yeah, I'm going to talk about it. And also, I don't recall her getting a last name, and she does not have her family on screen at all. Literally every other character, the main character, the two other side characters, they get their families in the limelight, but Rochelle's family is absent for some reason. Interesting. Let's ponder on that. And the last girl is Bonnie, another Anglo-Saxon. Her element is fire. in her direction is south. I believe she's one of the worst girls. Not worst as in badly written, but worst as in just a bad character within the story. This actress, she's from the OG Scream franchise. She's literally OG Scream queen. So I think that's pretty cool that she was in this movie. Also, the actress who plays Nancy, she's not in a lot of movies, but she's in a lot of indie movies. And she also reprises her role in the sequel. Spoiler, that's a spoiler review. Link is in the description to that video. She's my favorite actress, all-time actress in this movie. She's a good actress. Another movie I've seen her in was Waterboy, and I think it's interesting that Waterboy gets to be in existence and no one says Adam Sandler's wrong for doing that, but Maddie Ziegler was harassed for doing a movie that was supposed to be serious and not make fun of disabilities. So old Earth girl Sarah has to integrate into a new Catholic school and gets the lay of the land explained to her by a douchebag Bob, whose friends have already bullied her thus far. By the way, ladies, never befriend or date a boy whose friends hate you. It will never work out. It will always be hardships and turmoil. He tells Sarah the 3 witches are the 3 B words of Eastwick. What a freaking sicko. Nancy, the girl with a noose in her locker, is deemed a slut. But obviously, douchebag Bob isn't saying that from personal experience. He just knows, right? Literally, he slept with her. We later learned that he literally did sleep with her. He also says Bonnie, the girl from OG Scream, has scars all over her body, as if A, that's info he should be giving out to strangers, B, a reason to not talk to her, or C, any of anybody's business. He skips over Rochelle because it's just known that you don't talk to the black girl at this Catholic school. Literally. Every black person I've seen that watched this movie has literally said, wow, he just skipped over Rachel because she's black, and that's... It's whatever. It's whatever, okay? This is when I lose respect for Sarah. She's learned like 12 billion things about douchebag Bob in just 2 seconds of knowing him. His name is actually Chris, but anyway. 1, he's a douchebag. 2, his friends, John from the live action Garfield movie and bully number 2, literally bullied her before talking to him. Like, she's already coming in knowing that those guys are no good. And he's like, sorry about my friends. Like a freaking loser. 3, he has no respect for women. 4, he devalues women based on their sexual actions and physical traits. And Sarah still giggles and wants to go see him practice meatball after school. And he's still treating her like crap. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be practicing, but you don't have to come. Acting all, that's not smooth, by the way. I just want to let you know that's not what smooth is. That's like the opposite of smooth. That's freaking rough, bruh. Anyway. She goes skipping to Malou like a woman simp. Link to that video is in the description. I literally talk about women simps and how you're ruining our society. She goes to football practice as the Charmed show theme song plays. That's a nice callback. Charmed, by the way, the first rendition of Charmed, not the reboot. I don't know anything about the reboot except I know that they were just like, what on earth, whatever. Basically about 3 witches who are sisters. They come together, power of 3 times 3. It's just a good callback to like new generation of witches, just like Buffy the Vampire Slayer type CGI, you know, that stuff in the past. But I thought that was really cool. As Sarah simps behind the gates, sitting in the brush because she doesn't want to be seen as the woman simp she is, the 3 witches crawl out of the literal brush to see her. They like, every time they come on scene, it looks like they've teleported, and I think that's really cool. Nancy, aka the Air Witch, seems to be the leader, but Rochelle plays the stereotypical role of a lot of black girl characters in Hollywood films and is the bridge builder. She apologizes for Nancy staring at Sarah because they want to hang out. But at first, Sarah refuses, claiming she's got to go home. Like 2 seconds ago, she had nothing better to do except watch Everybody Hates Chris practice football. I'm fine with girls supporting their guy, but this guy sucks. Anyway, Nancy warns Sarah that Chris is bad news. Okay, so this is the first time. Let's keep a tally, right? This is the first time Nancy, without any malice, tells Sarah Chris is bad news. But Sarah clearly believes the words of Chris, a dude with douchebag friends and a dislike for women, over a girl's words. Like, how close can you go? If you've seen my woman simp video, you know what that means. Eventually, Sarah goes with them because she literally has nothing else better to do with her time. On their journey down the street, Sarah's wrists are exposed, and it's learned that Sarah cuts herself. Nancy is the only one that speaks up and makes her feel a bit better about herself, while Bonnie says something dumb about how she cut it the right way or something. It's horrible. Rochelle is the only one that's looking around like, what y'all mean? What's going on here? And that's relatable. That was a good thing for Rochelle to do. What I will say about this movie in regards to the blackness, I respect that the people behind this movie cared enough about Rochelle to give her enough scenes to make it appear fairly comparable to the amount of lines that her witch co-stars have. That's the grace you're getting. I don't want the least you can do. I want equality. Her family is omitted from the movie. And if I'm remembering correctly, the sequel/reboot Legacy omitted the black girl's family too. Again. Also, Rochelle's scenes where it focuses on her is literally only about the racism she faces. I deal with racism every day. But at home, I'm not subjected to that. I would have loved to have 2 or more scenes with Rochelle's family, plus a few where she's not having to deal with racist bully girl, number 1. Separate from the crowd, separate from her friends. Like everybody else had separate scenes. Back to the timeline. The group goes to a Wiccan store. I love those stores. The more south you go, though, the harder they are to find. A lot are just commercial smoke stores that sell cheap crystals and sage sticks. Bonnie, in my opinion, is the second worst girl of the bunch. Sarah is clearly the first. Bonnie literally tries to get Sarah to steal for them. Like, girl, steal for yourself if you want to do that. Also, never steal from a Wiccan store. The items will literally curse you. The woman who owns the shop gives Sarah a main character reading advice and asks if she's going to pay or steal because she knows that they be stealing all the time. The shopkeeper tells Sarah, oh, you're a natural witch. And we learn that she's done magic before, unlike the other girls who have not done any type of magic. They've just chanted. Now, what I will say from this moment on, Nancy is an antagonist to Sarah, but she's not the villain of the story. And I like how she's progressed through the story. I feel like Nancy is more polished and put together than Sarah by the end. Sarah, for one, first of all, let's just put this out on display right now. Whether it was intentional or not, Sarah is the blandest character. Even with Rochelle, who's got less scenes, who's got no family members on display the entire movie. We see her swim, but we don't see no big finale for that. Nothing that happens in Rochelle's story really matters to the end. Out of all of the characters, Sarah is the weakest. She's not the weakest written necessarily, but she is the weakest acted. She's the weakest character in general. And by the end, you don't feel like, to me, she should have been the main character. I feel like Nancy should have been the main character. And I think she might be the main character, especially since she's in the sequel. Anyway, back to the timeline. The girls walk back at night, and it looks like the worst alley in the entire world, where they get heckled by merchants and people on the streets. And a dude with a snake also, by the way. The snake handling dude walked into Sarah's house at the beginning of the movie as they were moving boxes inside because they just moved. This guy, in my opinion, represents sexual assault. Here's the first piece of evidence to that. He appears at their home and the father kills the snake, connecting the phallic symbol to him. Second piece of evidence. The girls fear getting assaulted moments before he appears again in the streets with another snake. But this time he has a warning for Sarah that she will die. Like I said, this is a spoiler review breakdown. This fortune was supposed to happen, I think. But I feel like Nancy stopped it. And I'm telling you, there's deep-rooted deepness within this movie that no one sees, and that I've seen a lot of reviews of this movie, and no one really talks about how significant Nancy is to the whole story. Even in the beginning, she's like one of the first people we see. I feel like she's the main character. Nancy is supposed to be the main character. I think Sarah was supposed to die because I don't think she was the main character. And I feel like what happens with Nancy by the end is what saves Sarah from dying. And I don't think that Sarah was supposed to die by the hands of Nancy either. But back to the timeline. The girls are running from the personification of sexual assault and Sarah's death fortune. Suddenly, he's killed by a car, and the girls all believe it's because they caused it, because they were thinking about that happening in their mind. They talk about this ominous presence that they call Manon. And just from me being in the Wiccan, this just makes it seem like it's Abrahamic. Wicca usually puts emphasis on the feminine, on the woman, on Mother Nature. So saying that Manon, they give the pronoun he to Manon. There's no difference. They don't even say she, he. They don't say they say he. So that was another thing that made me think that, yeah, that this is not real. This isn't true to Wicca. The supposed male deity, Manon, outranks the devil and God, according to Nancy. Like I said, by the way, Wicca acknowledges the feminine to be everything. So, like I said, this is just Abrahamic mimicked Wicca here. They agreed to invoke the spirit and open the floodgates of power, all except Sarah, who is scared to do it. And this is when Nancy is deemed a villain. But like I said, I don't think so. This is when Sarah's mother's death comes into play, because when Nancy describes invoking the spirit and saying Manon makes the bad things all better in your life, Sarah knows that that's not true because she's lost a mom and she's got power and she can't bring her back. So Nancy replies, maybe not for you. And that's antagonistic. Nancy, like I said, I'm not going to say she's a protagonist and she's great. She's an antagonist. And if she were the main character, she'd be an anti-hero. But I personally think that Nancy is not the villain. She does one thing that is unacceptable, and I'll explain what that is when it happens. This one disagreement pushes Sarah the simpleton to simp her way right back to Chris, and they have a date. He starts to get all like Neanderthalish. Chris expects sex. Chris denied sex. Chris mad. Chris spread lies. Sarah gave it bad. So basically, he just spreads across the school, the Catholic school, that she was bad in bed, even though it's like, what do you mean? Like, y'all are in high school. What you mean? What you mean? Like, whatever. The three witches basically are like, oh, so how was the date? And she's like, oh, how do you know? And then she's all shocked to find out from Nancy. And people make it seem like Nancy was being hostile, but I think it's interesting. She already warned Sarah, hey, this dude's no good. Like, girl code, come on. Where's the girl code, ladies? Where's the girl code? Sarah's gonna sit there, Pikachu, shocked that old dude who's got misogynistic tendencies and douchebag friends said that not only you had sex, but it was terrible. What does that gain him? What does that gain him? He just had sex with someone that was terrible. Like, what does that make you look like, honestly? So Pikachu runs over to Chris and his friends are like, oh, you're going to have to set up an appointment. You can't talk to him. And they're giggling and laughing at her because she's a fool, because Nancy already told Sarah, don't talk to this dude. But, simp. I need a simp, please. It's not Nancy's fault that happened to you, Sarah. It's your fault. And it would be victim shaming if not someone warned you. You just didn't listen. So it's not victim shaming to say that Sarah gets what's coming to her. Where's the girl code? Gals before pals. Literally, no dude is gonna align themselves with you over a guy. They're not going to. You can play in your make-believe little world that is going to happen, but no. Sarah is pathetic scum, and I can't stand her. The next scene displays the racism Rochelle faces while practicing swimming. I wish her side story had more significance than, here's the racism Rochelle faces, the end. Bonnie's side story explains her reclusion and explores the scars on her back. From that, she grows. Her mom is there for like 2 or 3 scenes, with her. Nancy's side story shows like a Marshall Mathers 8-mile life with a drunk mom and a sexually abusive stepfather. Slob. As the movie goes on, we see more of how her living situation changes and her mother's there. Sarah is the main character and has the most seen stuff on display. That's a given. But Rochelle's story is boiled down to just dealing with racism from one girl. My solution does not include any useless extremes like having no racism at all or having everyone be racist to her. So just act normal. Talk about racism and her life beyond that. It's unacceptable that most of all her scenes separate from her friends are with a racist girl. Also, why did we see Rochelle practicing swimming, but we didn't see no swimming meet? No swimming meet. We didn't see her win nothing. It was just, okay, practice swimming. Yeah, you can play games and be like, oh, well, we just saw that boy play football and we didn't see him. He's not a part of the group. So you can put that right back in your throat and swallow. Even though Sarah is clearly the aggressor against Nancy, she decides to still try to be friends with her. So they hang out and there's an iconic scene. We are the weirdos, mister. Sound off. This line was clumsily thrown into the sequel out of nowhere. Check out that review in the description. And before anyone comes up like, oh, Nancy only wants to be Sarah's friend because she's got power. No, there's no evidence to say that Nancy only wants to use Sarah for her power. There's no evidence. You have no evidence. That is merely your inference based on stuff that's not even related. So step on. The next scene is when the girls officially create the circle. They put a prick of their blood in a chalice with some wine, basically making a wish. Like what they want from the power of the circle. Rochelle's wish isn't even cool. She's like, the ability to not hate those who hate me. Like that was trash. This doesn't even amount to anything. By the way, she's not telling anybody to change. Nothing's different. It's just, let me be passive and these people still hate me. It's not, may this girl learn a lesson. There's nothing. They make Rochelle's wish really basic and vanilla for no reason. By the way, Sarah is the one that makes that racist girl's hair fall out. Literally, there's a scene before that happens where Sarah grabs the hair from her and wraps it around Rochelle's. Rochelle's like, what will happen to her? And Sarah said, if she leaves you alone, nothing good. Sarah was the one that made her hair fall out. So Rochelle shouldn't even feel bad about that. And there's a scene that makes it seem like, oh, your reflection is looking away from you because you've done a horrible thing. Rochelle did nothing. Rochelle did nothing. She made her wish be, let me be passive. That was her wish. That's how I know no black person was behind making her story, making her character, or anything at all. The only black person that was connected to Rochelle's character was the actress, and that's a darn shame. Sarah wastes her wish on a love spell on Chris, but her wish also stops her from cutting, which the words they use are so well thought out and deep, despite the genie effects after the spells have been casted, except Rochelle's. Rochelle's was pointless. There was nothing cool about it. If you're going to make them all be bad, make them all be bad. If you feel like there's going to be a problem or backlash because Rochelle's the only black character in your movie, how about you have more black characters so that Rochelle can be a person and not just be this model figure so that people who are racist can look at Rochelle and be like, hey, maybe not all of them are bad. That's not what we want. We want to be seen as people who are able to make mistakes and be flawed, not be the perfect model minority. And I feel like Rochelle's wish was an example of you trying to make Rochelle a model minority, despite you trying to shoehorn in like Rochelle's the one that made that girl's hair fall out when it was Sarah. It was Sarah. It was Sarah. I repeat, it was Sarah. Bonnie wishes to be beautiful, which gets rid of her scars on her back. Nancy does the only logical thing and wishes for all of the power of Manon. Butterflies descend on them. It's beautiful. In the next scenes, their wishes come true, all except Nancy's. And I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what Rochelle was asking for. She was like, oh, the ability not to hate those who hate me. You already didn't hate her because you didn't do anything against her. What is hating someone if you're not going to do anything against? You could just sit there. Like, it's the same thing. You were sitting there before. You sat there after. What did you gain? What did you gain from drinking that blood, Rochelle? Anyway, like I said, Nancy's doesn't, and that's why she's upset. And with all this disappointment, Nancy is given the opportunity to kill her abusive stepfather with a heart attack, like Death Note, after he aggressed at her mom and her. After that, she gets some money. There's a scene in the middle where they levitate Rochelle at Bonnie's house. By the way, this is the third time we see Bonnie's mother. We never see anyone from Rochelle's family ever. Why is that? If you even have a reason. But back to Nancy. So with that dude dead, her and her mom receive $175,000. Which gets them a fairly empty skyrise. Nancy, however, is still not happy. She needs therapy. At this time in the movie, Sarah introduces shape-shifting to the girls. Chris begins to harass Sarah. They go to the beach with animals. Rochelle got a fish. Sarah got a butterfly. Bonnie got a bird in a cage. Nancy's got a snake. Each one of these represents what's going on. Rochelle, literally, the fish is like so easy. She swims. That's basically all that represents. Maybe there's something deeper that I'm not looking at, but Sarah's the butterfly. It's because of her mom. Bonnie is a caged bird because she's like a caged bird who's always like reclusive, and Nancy's a snake, which is misunderstood and powerful. The girls attempt to invoke the spirit. In this scene, Nancy is a little mean to Sarah, but she has good reason to. Like, it was against girl code to go after Chris, especially since she literally warned her that he was horrible. And she's still trying to be with him. She's happy that he's harassing her and stalking her. He's literally stalking her after the love spell because she's the one that put the love spell on him, and that's against consent. So literally, Nancy versus Sarah ensues. Racist girl loses all of her hair, and we're supposed to feel bad for her. And we're supposed to think it's Rochelle's fault when literally there was a scene. There was a scene showing Sarah taking that hair and telling Rochelle, who was unaware of what was going to happen, had no idea because she's not a natural witch. Sarah clearly states she knew what was going to happen. She said nothing good. Whatever. After Sarah is almost raped by Chris, she escapes, thank goodness. Nancy goes out as Sarah and rapes him, then kills him. The rape was too far, but I'm fine with him dying. Like I said, Sarah, breached consent when she made that love spell. Even though Sarah is the one that's putting love spells on people and she's the reason why Chris died. Literally, she's the reason why Chris died, because he would still be being a loser and not talking to her because he's already on to his next whatever if she didn't try to make him love her. She's going to try to bind Nancy's powers, like Nancy's the problem. Literally, Nancy warned Sarah twice. Literally, honestly. I don't understand why that was why that was Nancy's fault. Literally, Nancy may have had a grudge against Chris, but she wasn't going out there killing him before. It was only after she saw that Sarah was almost raped that she went out and killed him. Literally, I can't. The last act of the movie is the worst part for me. As long story short, they go to her house. Sarah got the power of Manal from the Wiccan shop lady. Bonnie, Rochelle flee, lose their powers forever. It's Nancy versus Sarah, which is really cool. It's a final round. It looks really crazy. Like I said, it's old. It's from 1998 or something. So it looks crazy, but I love practical. I love how practical a lot of the stuff is. There's a lot of CGI, but there's a lot of practical stuff too. To make a short story shorter, Nancy loses and is sent to an insane asylum, powerless. But Sarah, the villain of the story, the person who put a dude under a spell, and then when he tries to rape her and someone tries to protect her, she has her power still. The woman simp of the year gets to keep her powers. Literally, that's the end. Literally a classic, some flaws, not perfect, but it's a great movie. Women leads, love it, well written. It's a 9 out of 10. Rochelle's and Nancy's treatment bumps it down 1 point from 10. I would really give it a 10. It's really nice. Even though there are characters that I don't like, this story is well told. There's a clear beginning, a clear middle, and a clear end. Like I said, I don't think Nancy is the villain. I think she is an antagonist to the protagonist that we have been shackled with. Sarah, she's disgusting. I hate her. I think literally every other character is a villain except Rochelle. There's really no reason to hate Rochelle except the fact that she feels like she needs to be in this crowd because no other crowd will accept her, i.e. racism. And yes, there was only one girl that outwardly did so, but why would she be with these girls who are clearly the wrong crowd if she had another option? She's not a part of the wrong crowd because she is the wrong crowd. She's a part of the wrong crowd because she's accepted no other place, not even tolerated. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like if you like, subscribe if you like, share if you like. I'm streaming on Twitch, Apex Legends, maybe Elden Ring sometimes. I really don't know. Like I said, summer is here, so I'm going to be busy, and I'm going to be really busy this coming up fall. So you may not see a lot of videos from me. But guess what? I've got over 200 videos. I am certain if you're watching this video, you have not watched all of my videos. So if you like Resident Evil, I talk a lot about Resident Evil. If you like We Happy Few, if you like Mortal Kombat, I have different playlists that you can navigate. They're really easy to navigate. My playthroughs, random gameplay, all there. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you learned something about Wicca if you didn't already know about the stuff I talked about. If you want to know my opinion about the sequel, I really didn't say anything about it here because I've already made a video about it. So link in the description there. Link to other marvelous videos down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, wonderful night, whenever you're watching this. I'm done.